Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. As always, my name is Joy, and as you can tell from today's video title, I'm gonna be talking about Boaz. So I'm gonna be talking about godly dating, so definitely stay tuned. If you haven't subscribed, definitely go ahead and click that subscribe button, then hit that notification button. That way you can be notified when I post new videos. So in today's generation, it seems like, everybody is wondering, how do I do godly dating, right? It seems like when you're living in sin, when you're living in the world, dating is much easier because you're dating with no purpose, you're dating with no expectations, you are dating with no direction, right? But how do you do godly dating? So I want to talk about godly dating, aka Boaz, from the perspective of the book of Ruth. And I just love the book of Ruth because I'm a hopeless romantic. And the book of Ruth reads like a romance novel. It is a story of romance and encouragement. It shows you how God can still revive you even when you're coming to the sunset of your life. It is also the genealogy background of the bloodline of Jesus Christ through David. So a bit of background on the book of Ruth. Naomi and her husband Elimelech left Bethlehem and moved to Moab because there was a famine in Bethlehem. And while in Moab, Naomi had two sons. So her two sons married two girls, Orpah and Ruth. And during a span of 10 years, Naomi lost her husband and her two sons. So these three women were left together with no men. Naomi lost her husband, her two kids. Orpah lost her husband. Ruth lost her husband as well. So the only thing that these women shared was death, right? So Naomi was bitter. She even said, "Do not call me Naomi anymore. Call me Mara, because God has been cruel to me." So she was bitter, and she said, "I'm bitter, but I'm bitter, and I'm going back home." So she was going back home to Bethlehem, and she told her daughters-in-law, "Go back to be with your people. Go get married. Go live your best life." Right? So Orpah was like, "All right, sis-in-law, mom-in-law, peace, I'm out. I'm going back home." And it doesn't mean that Orpah was a bad person. It just means that Orpah's storyline was done, right? So Ruth tells Naomi, "I'm not going back to my people. I'm going with you. Where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Where your people shall be my people, your God shall be my God." And Naomi was like, "All right, girl, come on, let's go back." So they went back to Bethlehem, and when they went back, Ruth was pretty much in her purpose, and she went back with this older woman because she knew this was her divine connection. Sometimes you meet people in your life and you just know they're your divine connection, right? So she goes back, she's in her purpose, she's serving Naomi, making sure that Naomi is good. She talks to Naomi one day and says, "Hey, let me go and find us some food. Let me go glean some grains on somebody's farm so we can have food." So Naomi gives her blessings. She's like, "My child, go ahead and do it." So Ruth goes out, and she just happens to land on the land of Boaz. And what she didn't know is, she found favor in Boaz. So Boaz is walking around, on the farm, making sure the reapers are doing what they're supposed to do. And he's like, yo, who's shorty over there? And the reapers were like, oh yeah, that's Ruth. She came back from Moab with Naomi. And he says, hey, just make sure you leave some additional grain for her. So that's favor, right? So Ruth goes back home to Naomi, and Naomi is like, wait, hold on, girl. What did you do to get all this extra grain, all this extra food? And she's like, oh no, I just found favor with Boaz, and he, I guess, had the people leave extra grain for me, whatnot. All right, cool. So it just occurs to Naomi that Boaz is the kindred redeemer for her husband's bloodline. What this means is, back in the older day, if a man died without any grandkids, his cousin or brother could actually marry like the wife or the son's wife, just basically to continue that bloodline. So Naomi gives Ruth advice and tells her, hey, I want you to go to the threshing floor, and I want you to lay on the feet of Boaz. He is going to know what this signifies. Now, she waits until Boaz goes to bed, right? And she goes and lays on the threshing floor, which is, by his feet. Now, Boaz could have done one of two things. He could have been like, all right, she done came and laid on my feet, I'm gonna go ahead and smash, right? But he didn't, because he was a good dude, right? He was Boaz, So he respected her. He actually told her, hey, I want to go ahead and get you out of here before people see you leaving my tent early in the morning and assume the wrong thing, right? So he gives her food, she leaves, and he goes and talks to some elders and decides to go ahead and marry Ruth and redeems the family, right? And we know that through Boaz and Ruth, we had a child that was born called Obed, and Obed ends up becoming the father of Jesse. Jesse became the father of David, and through the bloodline of David, we know that's where the Messiah, Jesus Christ, comes from. So how does this all tie in to godly dating? I'm so glad you asked. Let me tell you. So in today's world, there are three things that I think we should be concerned with, especially when it comes to dating. The first thing is godly dating. Not just dating, because hey, if you want to be out here just dating, be out here just dating. So the first thing is you gotta date with God's purpose, and then you have to date with God's standards, and then you have to do it in God's process, right? So what's dating with a purpose? So dating with a purpose is actually knowing that I am dating this person because I want it to lead into marriage. You're not just out here dating somebody or inviting somebody over because it's cuddle season, it's a little bit cold, and you need somebody to hold you. And come on, we already know what it's gonna end up in. You're gonna end up doing the ungodly, because you're not married. You're going to end up having your feelings attached to this person, and you are going to miss all the signs, all the red flags. You're gonna miss them, right? So I believe that it is very important that if you do not know the purpose in which you are dating, you should be single. And I think it is very important for us to be single before we even start pursuing other people and before we let other people pursue us, right? So if we look at the story of Ruth, Ruth actually went back to Moab with Naomi, and during that time when you read that book, it does not tell you that she was out here dating random people. She was single. What does it mean to be single? To be single is to be unbroken, to be whole, to not be attached to anyone else or anything else. This is your time to get to heal from your daddy issues. This is your time to heal from your abandonment issues. This is your time to heal from any issues that you need to heal from. Because if you have daddy issues and you go into a relationship, you are going to make that person your God. You're going to try to make that person your daddy. You're going to try to make that person be something that they cannot be, right? You need to be single. You need to seek wholeness. If you are just out here dating because you just cannot stand to be alone, that is a problem, right? You have to, the only reason you should be dating is because I want to weed out whether or not you are the right person. And if you are not the right person, peace, deuces, let's go our separate ways, right? But you have to know the purpose in which you are dating, right? The second thing is the standards, right? It is very important for you to have standards. You have to have those standards that cannot be compromised. Like for me, if you do not have a relationship with God, there is no reason for us to be talking. I cannot be unequally yoked to somebody. I cannot be yoked to somebody who does not believe in God, does not have a relationship with God. That is something that I don't plan to compromise, right? Now, you don't want to set your standards where you're like, oh yeah, shorty gotta be a 32, 24, 40. You know what I'm talking about, right? And ladies, you cannot be out here talking about, oh, he has to be light-skinned, 6'2", 6-pack, all white teeth. Like, there has to be some things that you're willing to compromise, right? So you have to be have your non-negotiables, and you have to have your negotiables. These are things that I'm not going to compromise, and these are some of the things that I'm willing to compromise, right? And then the process of dating. The process of dating, I love this. This is my favorite part, right? Because in the beginning, you're all in love with the person. They're perfect. They're amazing. You're going on dates. You definitely want to make sure that you guys are going out rather than staying in, especially if you're going to pursue a godly relationship, right? But the key is communication. You want to learn this person. You want to know, does this person shut me down emotionally when we get into a fight? Does this person punish me because I was 5 minutes late? How does this person feel about having kids? How does this person feel about traveling? Because y'all know I love traveling. How does this person feel about you have to get down and deep. You have to dig. Do they take showers? How many times do they take a shower? Do they wear clean drawers every day? These are questions that you have to ask during this process. I kid you not. People are out here just jumping into relationship. He's fine. She's fine. We're just going to go ahead and make it happen. I've talked about it, the truth about celibacy. Go back and watch that video because it talks about how when you just jump into something with no purpose, with no standards, you are going to end up wrecking that thing, right? And you are going to end up just doing whatever you please because what's the purpose? There's a quote that my pastor uses, and the quote says, if a thing does not have purpose, then abuse is inevitable. So if there's no purpose in a relationship, then you're bound to abuse it. You're bound to talk to that person any kind of way. You're bound to shut them out when you feel like it. You know, you're bound to mistreat them. Abuse will happen if there's no purpose. The other thing we have to recognize is it is okay. Once you figure out that this person is not the one, it is okay to say goodbye. It is okay to part ways. You don't have to hold on, sis. You don't have to hold on, bro. You know, part ways and start over the process with someone else, right? So the purpose for Ruth, actually, Ruth let Boaz pursue her. Boaz went ahead and did what was right. Once he found out, hey, you know, she's looking for a redeemer, that was her purpose. I'm looking for somebody to redeem my family line, right? He went ahead and sat down with some men and said, hey, I want to redeem her, right? And they went ahead and were in agreement, and they allowed him. He went ahead and married her, right? Because they were both on the same, I'm sure there was some courting in there, right? He didn't just say, hey, let's just run to the altar and get married. But there was a purpose. There was a process. He had to go talk to the men to make sure that the elders, to make sure that it was okay to marry her. And there was everything just came together. It connected, right? So I want to end with this, and this is for both men and women. The best advice I ever got was, let God grow him or her up. That way you do not have to spend the rest of your life trying to raise them. Let God finish the work that they've started in that person. If you realize through the process that this person still has some work, let God finish that work, because you can't finish it. God has to finish it, right? So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and then click that notification button. That way you can continue to get notifications when I post. Bye.